Today I'm going to talk about post-it notes and how they can save your life if you are unorganized or if looking at too much at one time can be overwhelming for you. So you can see here I have set up this little section of my area to have some post-it notes on it, like as if I had classes. You can see that I have separated it by section. If I had 6 classes, and you can see that I have each column sharing multiple assignments or multiple steps, and I'm going to break this down really quick. So when you're doing this, some things that you want to do with the post-it note is you want to have the class, what the assignment is, how long do you think it's going to take you to do, and when is it due. This can help you prioritize when you do, what you do and when. And you can see that here I have it listed a little bit differently than I have over here. So you see I've boxed the section here, I've put the due date at the top, I put the amount of time it takes at the top. And this is just something that sort of happened as I was thinking through, and I was looking at, like, you know what, it makes a lot more sense to put it at the top. So just part of this is figuring out your own system, what makes most sense to you. Because that's the basic setup of the post-it note. Title of the class, the actual assignment, how long you think it's going to take you, and when is it due. Another thing that you can do is if you have a really big project, like you can see here, there's a variable equation poster. That's going to take multiple steps. So I've sectioned that off into multiple steps so that I can kind of chunk it a little easier, so that I don't have to do it all at once and it seems a little more manageable. Okay, and there are some that have multiple assignments. I've also sort of done that. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of working through this entire list at once, I am going to look through and I'm going to look for, okay, what are some of the most recent or the most the closest due date? Which one is coming up first? Okay. So after taking a closer look, I know that the closest deadlines is the 28th, September 28th. So I'm going to take those to the side. Something I also noticed is that I have a long list of things to do for my math class. It's for this one assignment for it's kind of a big project. So I'm going to take one task from that big project because I don't want to do it all at once. I'm going to get so burnt out. Okay, so I've now selected 3 tasks that I would like to prioritize. I'll deal with those later. But right now, this is much more manageable than looking at that. So I'm going to take a closer look and I'm going to decide, okay, which one can I get out of the way first? What one do I want to, so I can actually do it 2 ways. I can decide which one is going to be easiest or which one is going to be hardest. And I could go with that. So what I like to do is I like to start with some of the more difficult ones. And for me, I think that would probably have to be the science one. Okay, doing a worksheet for parts of a cell. So I'm going to start with that one, because not only is that probably going to be the most difficult one, it's also the one that takes that I've estimated will take me the most time. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then do the second most difficult, which is probably going to be planning and writing my plan for my poster. I'm going to finish that off with a journal entry for my English class, because that doesn't really require me to study anything. I can just go in and I can write. So if I know what each of these different tasks are asking me to do, I can plan and see which one I want to do first, starting with the hardest thing and going into the easiest thing. For some people, this might be reverse order. Maybe a journal entry wouldn't take you as long as it would take you to do a math task or to do a science task. But this is my personal system. This is how I've ranked it for myself. So even though this one, the math one, isn't due for a while, I'm still going to try and work on it because I know that this is going to take me, I'm going to do this real quick, even though it's due sooner. And so that's how I prioritize. So that's how I've taken all my tasks, broken them down, and prioritized what I want to do next. Then when I finish one, I can just take the Post-it note off and say, I crushed it. And then I can play a little bit of very poorly played basketball. Okay, party foul, walk of shame. Let's go get that. Okay, that's done. So that one's done. So I move on to my next tasks. If I finish all of these and I have nothing to do, and I feel like that's a good day's work, you know what, I can walk away and go do something fun, maybe take a break, refresh a little bit, and then when I feel up to it, I can go back to my wall and pick another thing. Now you might notice that I actually have a couple of, at least one assignment on here that doesn't have a due date, but I do it every day. So for this one, this is kind of a task that is repetitive. So sometimes, I can just take that, put that over there, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do this right now. So I'll go practice, do some practice exercises, some scales, some arpeggios, other sorts of exercises. And when I'm done with that, I don't need to crumple it up because I want to save this. I'm going to do it every day. I can put it back. Okay. Now notice that I've actually chunked a lot of these different assignments so that they're not any longer than 30 minutes. Okay? If I think a task is going to take me more than 30 minutes, I need to try to chunk it a little better and decide, okay, what specifically do I want to work on? So like here, the poster was going to take me more than 30 minutes, so I chunked it into smaller little sections. Or if there was a really big task that I wanted to work on, let's say practicing, let's say I had to practice a total of 2 hours a week. I don't want to do those entire 2 hours of band practice I don't want to do it all at once. What I want to do is I want to maybe portion it out and do 15 minutes a few times a week. Let me do that math. I don't think there's enough. Yeah, or I could do 30 minutes 4 times a week if I want to get the full 2 hours. Doing 15 minutes a day wouldn't cut it. Or I could do 20 minutes 6 times a week. 30 minutes 4 times a week, you know? Doesn't really matter. I can chunk it however I want to. But the reason we want to make sure that we don't do something more than 30 minutes at a time is because it is exhausting to stick with the same task for an extended period of time. So please, make sure that you take care of yourself. Make sure that you are kind of scheduling in breaks. If you have a task and you say, I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, set a timer and commit to doing it for 30 minutes. If you are not done with it in 30 minutes, that's okay. Take a break at that 30 minutes anyway, and then go back to it once you feel a little refreshed. One thing that I like to remind myself is that a dull axe cannot fell as many trees as a sharp one. So sometimes we need to take a break to sharpen our axes, to refresh ourselves, so that we are better able to do a job rather than wearing ourselves down and increasing our stress load because our brains are tired and we can't concentrate. So I hope this is going to be helpful in terms of dividing up your workload, really being able to keep track of what you need to do, and also making sure that you are not doing too much at once, and that you are able to pace things out, and that you are able to allow yourself to take breaks and not get stressed out by doing everything at the last minute, or even worse, forgetting about something. Remember, if you don't have a wall like I do to work with, you can use a notebook to put your Post-it notes in, or you can try to just keep a little stack of Post-its and call it good. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that this works out for you. If this is not something that you are necessarily into, you're not into post-its, there are other videos on our page where you can get other ideas for how to organize. Hope it helps. Stay safe out there, Panthers.